In tonight's Dateline Defense, the march toward Implementation Day. A senior Russian diplomat says Iran has met a key requirement of this summer's nuclear deal with 6 world powers. Iran is allowing Moscow to transfer most of its enriched uranium to Russia. In exchange for that and other moves, Iran will seek the lifting of international sanctions. Joining me with the latest is Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shaffer. He's a CIA-trained senior intelligence operations officer, best-selling author, and senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research.
Morris?
Tony, a Russian diplomat who doesn't want his name released, made these comments to the Associated Press. Under the deal, Iran must ship out nearly 9 tons of stockpiled uranium. Why is it going to Russia?
Well, under the agreement, Russia gets to be the repository for all this enriched uranium, which is a good thing. The theory is, obviously, if that uranium is not available to the Iranians for further processing into weapons, that will dissuade them from developing any actual nuclear weapon. I'm a bit skeptical. I don't think we've identified the entire stock by the fact that, until you have a baseline, Morris, which you identify everything, you can't actually go about trying to ensure that everything that they have is going to be moved. So I think it's a good first step if the Russians follow through and they give it to the Iranians follow through and give it to the Russians.
All right, you mentioned you're a bit skeptical. Do we have any reason to doubt this report then?
Well, at this point, no. Again, we don't have a baseline.
Yeah.
We never took the time and allowed teams to go in, Morris, to actually ascertain what exactly is the scope of the current stockpile. So we're actually taking the Iranians' word for what they have. So again, if what they have is accurate, if what they've told us is accurate, this is a good first step. But again, I'm skeptical that we actually know the entire baseline number of tons of uranium that they started with.
There's a significant stage of these negotiations called Implementation Day.
Right.
If Iran meets all of its commitments, the UN will lift most international sanctions. Will we get there?
I think we're going to get there whether we want to or not.
Yeah.
I think this is a fait accompli.
Yeah.
There's
train
no way.
is moving.
That's right. The
Yeah.
train's moved. And look, the Iranians just recently tested ICBMs, which are nuclear capable, and no one, and that's a violation of a number of things.
Can you believe that?
I know.
Why? It's like in your face.
In your face. Nobody said a thing. And by the way, Morris, those the prohibitions against that test is a United Nations prohibition. So if the fact is the UN does not do anything to protest these ICBM launches, I don't see them doing anything at all to any way derail the current agreement as it's moving forward.
They're spiking the ball and the game's not even over yet. All right, let's move on.
Sure.
Today, Iraqi forces backed by U.S. airstrikes drove ISIS out of the center of Ramadi.
Right.
They seized the main government complex there. How significant is that development?
Significant in that this is a good baby first step for the Iraqi military. Morris, Ramadi should never have fallen. The current number that we estimate is that ISIS probably used 1,000 individuals, 1,000 soldiers to dethrone or throw out over 5,000 troops. The odds just were phenomenally against ISIS, yet ISIS walked away with a victory. Now it took 10,000 to take 300 out. Think about that, 10,000 to take 300 out. So they've got the city back now. Now what? The question now becomes, what do they do to settle the peace? And most importantly, Morris, the fundamental conditions which resulted in ISIS growth both internally in Iraq and other places and allowing them to take Ramadi has not changed. Those conditions have not changed. Prime Minister Abadi has not fixed the Sunni-Shia split, and frankly, the country remains a fractured nation where I don't see any hope of putting the entire thing back together yet.
I'm afraid you're right. It is broken.
Right.
ISIS still controls roughly 30% of Ramadi. Iraq hopes to reclaim it entirely by the end of the year and then go after Mosul.
Right.
Tell us more about that phase of fighting. What should we expect?
Well, they're trying to move right now in Ramadi the police back in, and again governance. The question becomes, can the people of Ramadi and the region trust the government? A lot of folks feel the central government, the Abadi government, is completely compromised to the Shia, to the Iranians. Therefore, there's very little trust. Why this worked finally this time, Morris, is because they actually relied on the Sunni tribes, the Sunni militia. Those forces went in there with the Iraqi regulars and were able to help clear out the ISIS folks. With that said, there's accurate reports, I believe, of looting. And again, you still got parts of the city still controlled by ISIS. The question becomes, can they actually settle that? And more importantly, Mosul will be far in magnitude more difficult to go after. So the current army as configured in Iraq that they have will not be able to take Mosul. A lot more has to be done. And again, Prime Minister Abadi has to fix the fundamental conditions of distrust between the Sunni Shia, and I don't see that happening within the next two or three months.
Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shaffer, Senior Fellow at the London Center for Policy Research. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.